Joe Rogan just said he feels sus, and when Joe Rogan says that, you already know something's off. Because Candace Owens just dropped what she's calling receipts. And let's just say, they don't look good for Charlie Kirk. I mean, we're talking screenshots, money trails, late-night messages, the kind of stuff that makes even Joe Cigar freeze mid-puff. So what's going on here? Why is one of the biggest conservative commentators suddenly under fire from his own circle? Why does Candace sound like she's holding the final episode of a political Netflix thriller? And why is Joe Rogan, the man who interviews astronauts and MMA fighters, suddenly speechless? Something's off. Something doesn't add up. Candace says she's done staying silent. Joe says the energy feels weird. And the internet? Oh, the internet's melting down. In this video, we're diving deep into what Candace claims are undeniable proofs, receipts as she calls them, that could flip the entire conservative influencer scene upside down. From leaked DMs to missing money to a betrayal that nobody saw coming. This is the story that's got everyone asking, what the hell did Joe just find out? This one's messy, and it's about to get explosive. So let's start from the top, because this entire thing didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's been brewing for weeks, quietly, silently, like that slow burn feud everyone pretends isn't happening. Until someone finally hits post, Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, two names that have stood side by side for years. Preaching truth, accountability, and owning the libs, but behind the cameras? The energy was never as clean as they made it look. Sources close to both say it's been awkward for months. That's right, awkward. Not tension, not rivalry, awkward. The kind of vibe where you smile on camera but can't stand the person the second the lights go off. It started with whispers. Candace allegedly felt that Charlie had been using Turning Point USA's platform for his personal empire. Too much money going in, too little explanation coming out. And if you've ever watched Candace, you know, she doesn't hint, she exposes. Then came the podcast appearance that changed everything. Joe Rogan invited Candace back on his show, casual vibes, coffee, and that classic Rogan let's just talk energy. But when the topic shifted toward fake conservative loyalty, Candace's tone changed. Her smile tightened. Her voice dropped. She looked at Joe and said, quote, "Some people pretend to be patriots until you see what they're really cashing out behind the scenes," and Joe froze. You could see it. The man who's seen conspiracy theories, alien stories, and government denials suddenly didn't know what to say. Within hours, social media exploded. Hashtags like hashtag Candace vs Charlie and hashtag Charlie receipts started trending. People were spamming clips, dissecting micro-expressions, slowing down eye contact like it was a court deposition. One user even wrote, "You can literally see the moment Joe realizes this isn't just gossip." Then Candace doubled down. She tweeted, "When people play the patriot card while robbing their followers blind, don't act surprised when the truth comes out. I keep receipts, boom, fireworks." That was it. The conservative internet split overnight. Half were defending Charlie, saying Candace was just stirring drama for clout. The other half were demanding Charlie show the books. Even some of his closest allies started going quiet online. That silence? Louder than words. What made it worse? People started digging. Old clips resurfaced. Moments where Charlie dodged questions about donations, partnerships, and mysterious consulting fees. You know how it goes. Once the internet smells blood, it doesn't stop. They found inconsistencies, deleted tweets, and clips from private fundraisers that suddenly looked a lot different with Candace's allegations in mind. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan tried to play it cool. On a later episode, he laughed it off, saying, "I don't know what's going on, but it feels kind of sus, and that's all it took." The man said sus, and Twitter went nuclear. People started tagging him in every conspiracy thread. Joe knows something. Rogan's seen the DMs. He's playing neutral because Spotify told him to. It became chaos, pure viral chaos. But here's the kicker. Candace wasn't done. 2 nights later, she dropped a 3-minute video on X. Calm, composed, no flashy editing, just her voice. She said, if you take money from your followers in the name of freedom, but use it for your own private lifestyle, that's not patriotism. That's fraud. She didn't name names, but she didn't need to. The internet connected the dots faster than a detective on Red. Bull. Screenshots began circulating. Anonymous leaks showing payment records and private group chats allegedly tied to Charlie's inner circle. Some of them showed luxury travel expenses marked as youth outreach. Others were security costs that looked suspiciously like resort stays. Now, whether these leaks were real or not, no one could tell. But perception is reality, and perception was brutal. Podcasters started weighing in. Meme pages had a field day. And Charlie? Radio silence. No denial. No response. Just a few vague God bless you all tweets that sounded more like panic than peace. Meanwhile, Candace kept reposting fan comments, saying things like, finally someone said it and truth doesn't need permission. It was open war, only she was smiling while launching missiles. Joe Rogan's next episode opened with him saying, I got 10,000 messages about this Candace thing. I don't know what's true, but something's off. Things off. And that, right there, that's when the story shifted from internet drama to possible exposure, because when Joe Rogan says something's off, millions listen. People started rewatching old Turning Point conferences, looking for clues. Some noticed that Candace and Charlie hadn't appeared on the same stage in almost a year. Others claimed that donors had started pulling back after undisclosed expenses came to light, and still, Charlie said nothing, but the internet wasn't waiting for him. Reddit threads were mapping out alleged connections between Turning Point's funding and offshore payments. TikTok investigators were tracing screenshots like they were part of a Netflix docuseries, then an anonymous insider, probably fake. But who cares at this point? Posted on 4chan claiming that Candace's team had hard proof of internal corruption, and that Joe was shown some of it off camera. True? Probably not. Viral? Absolutely not. And by the time that rumor hit mainstream accounts, the narrative was already set. Candace had proof. Charlie was hiding. Joe was caught in the middle. But what really made people stop scrolling was this, a screenshot of an alleged message from a TPUSA staffer that said, he told us to delete the receipts. That single line broke the internet. Because whether it was real or fake, it sounded real enough, and that's where the story takes a turn. Because what came next made even Joe Rogan's audience say, wait, this might be bigger than we thought. The next 48 hours felt like digital warfare. Every feed, every timeline, every YouTube comments section was a live crime scene. People weren't just watching anymore, they were investigating. Screenshots, voice notes, and even blurry screenshots of emails started surfacing under the tag the Kirk files. Nobody could prove what was real, but everyone wanted to believe something was. Because the story had everything: betrayal, money, politics, and power. It was addictive. Candace posted a cryptic line, if you knew how deep it goes, you'd lose sleep. That one sentence broke the algorithm. Millions of views in minutes. Influencers started making 10-minute breakdowns with red arrows and dramatic zooms, connecting dots that probably didn't exist. But that's the thing, the truth didn't matter anymore. The aesthetic of truth did not. Then came the so-called leaks. Anonymous files dropped on Telegram, claiming to be internal financial statements from Turning Point USA. The documents were messy, full of typos, and had random blacked out lines. But buried inside were words that made the internet gasp. Consulting, $245,000. Security, Bahamas, private retreat, Cayman Islands. It was like reading a political thriller written by an accountant. Commentators immediately jumped in. One popular YouTuber said, if even half of this is legit, Charlie Kirk's done. No coming back from that. Another claimed to have a source who confirmed luxury spending under fake labels. Nobody verified anything. But verification wasn't the point. Outrage was. And then Joe Rogan's name got dragged back into the chaos. Clips surfaced of him quietly reacting to Candace's earlier statements, edited to make it look like he was nodding in agreement. One viral caption read, Joe's seen the proof. He just can't say it on air. Suddenly, he was no longer a bystander. He was a witness. Joe addressed it on his podcast the next day, half laughing, half serious. "Man, people are acting like I'm in the CIA or something. All I said was it feels weird. And yeah, it still does." That line only made things worse. Still does? What did he mean by that? Comment sections blew up with theories. Some said Spotify pressured him to stay neutral. Others swore he'd seen Candace's receipts privately. It didn't matter how many times he clarified, the internet had already decided he was in on it. Meanwhile, Candace was getting bolder. She appeared on a smaller conservative podcast and said, "You can't preach integrity while hiding transactions your donors would never approve." The host tried to pivot, but Candace wasn't playing. She added, "And let's not pretend certain people haven't been warned privately before this ever went public." That sentence alone sent social media into meltdown. Screenshots of alleged email chains appeared online, showing supposed warnings from Candace's team to Charlie's organization months earlier. Whether those were real or not, they fit the narrative too perfectly. People reposted them with captions like "she told him." And now it makes sense. Then an alleged audio leak surfaced, a muffled, distorted clip of a man's voice saying, "We'll move the funds next quarter." It could have been anyone, but someone labeled it as Charlie's voice, and suddenly it was everywhere. TikTok edits, slow-motion reactions, conspiracy compilations, all claiming the same thing. The voice sounded too close to be fake. By now, even mainstream outlets started poking around. And verified allegations, they said carefully, but still ran headlines because traffic was traffic. Conservative donors reportedly started asking questions. Small blogs claimed multiple resignations within TPUSA were quietly happening behind the scenes. Whether that was true or not didn't matter. It felt true. Joe Rogan's next podcast opened with a monologue that only fueled the storm. He said, "Man, if people are really doing shady stuff while claiming to save America, that's messed up." He didn't name names, but he didn't have to. That single statement got clipped, subtitled, and uploaded across every platform. Joe Rogan calls out Charlie Kirk. One headline screamed, "And Charlie? Still silent. Still no statement." His team issued a generic PR post about unity and misinformation, but it read like damage control. And that silence, again, felt like guilt. Commenters were saying things like, if he had nothing to hide, he'd go on Joe's show and clear it. Then another insider account popped up, this time on X, claiming to be a former Turning Point staffer. The account posted a thread titled "The Receipts You Haven't Seen Yet." It claimed Candace's files included evidence of luxury hotel stays billed as youth seminars. Political donations were routed through shell accounts, and personal bonuses disguised as consulting. Each post had fake but convincing screenshots with red circles and highlights. Within hours, the thread hit over 2 million views. People started calling it Patriotgate, a digital witch hunt. But it was too entertaining to stop watching. Then came the twist. Candace teased an upcoming exclusive drop, a video titled "The Truth They Don't Want You to See." The trailer was cinematic, static noise, blurred faces, voiceovers saying things like, "We have the files," and Candace ending it with the line, "No one is above exposure." The countdown began. Every influencer, commentator, and political junkie was ready. Joe Rogan even joked about it on his show, saying, "I'm low-key nervous about what she's gonna show." That clip alone did 5 million views in one night. But what nobody expected was how fast the backlash would spiral. Within hours of her video drop, anonymous users started claiming federal interest had entered the mix. Screenshots of supposed subpoenas circulated, probably fake, definitely viral. Some said the SEC was monitoring potential misuse of nonprofit funds. Others said FBI looking into tax violations. Every thread contradicted the last. But the narrative was clear. The walls were closing in, and that's where the pressure hit its peak. Charlie's allies began distancing themselves, deleting old collaborations, untagging photos, locking comments. Donors started issuing bland no-comment statements. Meanwhile, Candace doubled down, saying, If the law doesn't hold people accountable, the people will at this point. Joe Rogan's podcast was trending again, people demanding he invite Charlie to respond live. The audience wanted confrontation, blood, truth, spectacle, whatever they could get. And then, just as things couldn't get messier, a new name got pulled in. That's when the whole scandal shifted from drama to full-blown chaos, and Joe Rogan, whether he wanted to or not, became the center of it all. It started with a single headline: Spotify executive confirms meeting with Candace Owens' team. Within minutes, screenshots of that article went viral. Even though nobody could verify where it came from, the rumor was simple but explosive. Candace had supposedly shown Joe Rogan's producers classified evidence off camera. The internet immediately ran with it. Suddenly, Joe wasn't just reacting to the scandal, he was in it. Conservative spaces began melting down. One camp was screaming that Joe had been compromised, another that Candace had sold out for clicks, and a third, the loudest one, claimed this entire thing was a coordinated takedown. Threads titled Operation Silence Charlie started popping up across Reddit and Telegram. Some users claimed government involvement. Others said it was all internal conservative warfare. The line between political reality and online fan fiction disappeared. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk finally appeared, but not how people expected. He didn't do a podcast. He didn't go live. He released a 3-minute pre-recorded statement with dramatic piano music in the background. His face looked tight, rehearsed, like he'd been told exactly what to say. He said, "There's a coordinated misinformation campaign happening right now. I've done nothing wrong. My conscience is clear. It was supposed to calm the chaos, but it only made things worse." Within minutes, Candace responded on X, "Innocent people don't call exposure misinformation. They show proof." That reply alone got to million views in the first hour. Joe Rogan's fans clipped it and overlaid his reaction from another episode where he said, "That's sus, bro." It was meme perfection, and meme perfection is deadly in today's news cycle. Then came what people are now calling the Dropbox leak. An anonymous account posted a download link supposedly containing hundreds of internal documents, invoices, voice notes, email screenshots. Some users claimed they saw proof of lavish donor retreats disguised as educational workshops. Others said there were messages showing panic among Charlie's staff, lines like "tell him to delete the statements now" and "Candace has the files." Most of it was fake. Some of it was reused from old unrelated scandals, but the internet didn't care. The narrative had taken on a life of its own. Hashtags like #delete the receipts and #Charlie files were trending across multiple platforms. Influencers were doing dramatic readings of the supposed emails, complete with background music and fake phone buzz sounds. The entire situation became part investigation, part entertainment. And Joe Rogan? He was the unwilling ringmaster. Every guest he brought on got asked about it. One fighter joked, "Man, I came here to talk about training, not Candace Owens." Another comedian said, "This feels like politics mixed with a Netflix scam doc." Joe laughed, but the unease was there. You could feel it because, according to new rumors, someone from Candace's side had reached out to Rogan privately, offering him exclusive access to the next drop. Whether he accepted or not, nobody knows, but the next day, he posted a single line on X, "The truth always comes out." That was gasoline on the fire. People instantly interpreted it as confirmation that he'd seen proof. Joe Rogan confirms Candace's evidence trended for hours. Clip channels, reaction videos, and think piece podcasts flooded the feed. Everyone had a theory, a screenshot, a hot take. Behind the noise, though, something real was happening. Sponsors and donors began pulling out. Brands quietly froze partnerships. With Turning Point, one anonymous donor reportedly suspended a 6-figure contribution until further clarification. News outlets ran cautious stories about emerging allegations of financial misconduct. Even if nothing was proven, the perception was toxic. By the end of the week, reports claimed there was an active legal review inside Turning Point US. Former staffers were allegedly being questioned. Candace hinted at cooperation with legal authorities, but gave no details. People started wondering if this was still internet drama or the beginning of something real. That's when the FBI email dropped a screenshot surfaced showing an email supposedly from an FBI field office asking Candace's team to submit relevant financial documents. It was almost certainly fake, but it didn't matter. The damage was irreversible. Late-night shows joked about it. YouTubers made documentaries in real time. Patriotgate, as it was now called, had become the internet's favorite political soap opera. And Joe Rogan couldn't escape it. Every clip of him mentioning Candace or Charlie was repackaged with titles like Rogan knows or Rogan warned us, even when he laughed it off. People swore he was hiding the truth. Spotify had to disable comments on one of his episodes after conspiracy accounts flooded it with questions about the receipts. Then, one morning, Candace went live. It wasn't planned. No lights, no edits, no team. She said, "You can all laugh, but I warned him. I told him this would come out." And now the investigators are in contact. Viewers flooded the chat. Clips went everywhere. People started messaging Joe directly. "Is this true? Did she really show you the files?" Joe responded later that night, tired, slightly annoyed, saying, "I don't know what she's talking about, but yeah, something about this whole thing just doesn't sit right with me. That was enough." Joe Rogan feels sus became the new headline across every channel. Now, every part of the conservative media world was fractured. Influencers who once toured together were blocking each other. Commentators were publicly choosing sides. Old clips of Candace and Charlie smiling together were being remixed with eerie music, like a friendship turned ghost story. And yet, through the noise, one detail lingered. No one had ever proven the leaks were fake. They'd been called unverified, misleading, even AI generated, but never officially debunked. That ambiguity, that gray area, was where the chaos thrived. By the end of the month, Charlie's reputation was in shambles. Candace was being called a whistleblower by some, a backstabber by others. Joe Rogan had moved on to new episodes, but his name stayed glued to the scandal. His face was on every thumbnail. His quote, "It feels sus," turned into a meme, a catchphrase, a symbol of doubt. And that's how this whole saga ended. Not with a verdict, not with proof, but with vibes. Suspicion became the new truth. Rumors became headlines. And a casual comment from Joe Rogan turned into the quote that defined an entire digital controversy, because in the age of viral receipts, it doesn't matter what's real. It only matters what feels real. And right now, for millions of people watching this chaos unfold, it still feels very, very sus. So what do you think really happened here? Was Candace Owens the only one brave enough to expose what others kept quiet about? Or did she just play the game better than Charlie Kirk? And what about Joe Rogan? Did he really see the so-called receipts? Or was he just caught in the crossfire of a digital witch hunt? One thing's for sure, this story proves how fast the internet can turn suspicion into truth. No courtroom, no judge, just viral clips and chaos. The more people deny it, the louder the crowd gets. And in this new world of influence and exposure, silence is the biggest confession of all. Drop your thoughts below. Who's the real fraud? Who's the real victim? And who's just playing everyone? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because we're only getting started. The next revelation might be even darker. And we'll have it first. This is exclusive Exposed, where rumors become reality and no one walks away clean.